Hello, everybody. First of all, thanks to the Cloud Security Alliance for the invitation, and also thank you for tuning in this session on POOD audits, an effective path to DORA compliance. My name is Imre Barko. I'm a member of the board of the Collaborative Cloud Audit Group. The CCAG is an association in the European Union with members all over Europe. In this session, I would like to give you some insights on how POOD audits could help to comply with regulatory requirements. So let's first talk about the regulatory perspective and the growing cyber threats the financial industry is facing today. In 2024, cyber attacks rose by about 30% compared to the previous year. And it's safe to say that hackers are having a field day with the financial sector. Also, a staggering of almost 80% of the financial service organizations reported ransomware attacks in 2024. And if that doesn't make you double-check your cybersecurity, I don't know what will. And here, and given the growing dependence on third-party providers, the new regulatory framework of the European Banking Association comes into play, called DORA. You all are aware of the requirements, and I don't want to present the different areas again. However, all banks now need to follow a stricter approach to assess their third-party risks based on the goal of the European regulators of stability and effectiveness of the European financial system through consistent, transparent, simple, and fair regulation and supervision. So the question is, how can you get assurance on your third parties? And on this slide, I share the different approaches to the regulator propose the regulation. First of all, the third-party certifications on the provider's ICT services you get. Another way could be audits performed by the internal audit function of the third-party service provider. A third way could be an independent audit performed on request by the ICT third party. And last but not least, audits or independent assessments you perform as a financial entity. All the approaches face distinct challenges that must be carefully considered if you want to get assurance on the service you have contracted with a third-party provider. So on the next slide, I would like to give you some background information on two of those approaches and the challenges you may face. First of all, related to certificates you want to use for the assurance. Here, the C5 certificate, the SOC 2 certificate, or any 27 reports certification come into play. Also the FedRAMP. Here, a big challenge for you would be understanding the specific security, privacy, and compliance standard that certificate covers. Also, you need to assess the relevance and the adequacy of this certificate and the results of it for your own use cases. A big challenge of that certificates is the transparency on the assessment process or the testing criteria, especially when it comes to the test of the effectiveness. It's most likely not based on your own criteria. You need to apply to get assurance on your services you get. Further, the follow-up process on the exceptions and the findings addressed through this certificate. How do you do this for your institute? Summarizing, you need to bridge somehow the limited assurance provided by the certification. So you may consider doing or conducting an individual customer audit on the service you get from the service provider. And if you ever made an individual customer audit, you know it's very resource intensive in terms of time, effort, and stuff you need to assess the service. Speaking about the cloud services you contracted, you need a special knowledge of the cloud technology and the relevant security standards you and the cloud service providers apply. Also, what could be challenging is getting access to the service provider's premises and the relevant subject matter experts for the topics you have in scope. And also here, last but not least, the costs you need to bear for having these individual customer audits. So here's the deal. Instead of each bank independently auditing the same cloud provider, POOD audits offer a far more efficient and effective way to ensure compliance with everyone involved. A POOD audit is, as the name suggests, a joint exercise of the contractual agreed audit rights. A POOD audit is very resource efficient. You share costs and expertise. Ideally, you use a uniform assessment criteria based on an individual risk assessment, of course, but aggregated to derive a common scope for each participating entity. And also, with sharing the knowledge, you apply best practices in a collaborative approach, in a collaborative way. This enhances your own understanding of threats and mitigation strategies. You learn from each other. And with the uniform approach the POOD audit applies, you consistently gain compliance. Overall, a POOD audit can provide a lot of synergy effects in terms, for example, of effort and cost for both the auditing institutes and the respective providers. So let's dive into the POOD audits approach of the CCAG. But first, here are some impressions from the cloud providers that experience POOD audits. In 2022, AWS provided a blog entry on CCAG's POOD audit. Also Google a year before, AWS again, 2023. And it's not only CCAG does these POOD audits, but also the Ingelheim-Kreis initiative. It's a German-based collaboration to assess the pharmaceutical and life science, no, actually not to assess, but for the pharmaceutical and life science sector, and to assess here again the AWS cloud service provider. But now, let's get into the POOD audit approach of the CCAG. The CCAG methodology starts with the pre-preparation phase, a so-called call for interest, in which all CCAG members, it's an association, you remember, raise their interest in auditing certain cloud providers. In this phase, the entities confirm their audit participation and the first contractual arrangements are started. In the audit preparation, everything is clear. Every institution knows with what institution they collaborate. In the audit preparation, the risk assessment takes place, which is the basis for the scoping. The CCAG here applies the cloud control metrics of the Cloud Security Alliance as a basis for the scoping. Also in the audit preparation, the fieldwork planning takes place with the on-site fieldwork and potentially remote fieldwork and so on. In this phase also, the cloud service providers provide a process overview related to the defined scope. This is also the basis to define what kind of evidences is needed and provides the first glance for the deep dives related to the test of design on the governance and the written framework and the test of effectiveness. In the fieldwork phase, usually interviews take place, documents are reviewed, and the sample-based testing takes place, which is based on the population on a specific area of interest of the participating companies. In the fieldwork, also weaknesses in the process or in the design of processes or its effectiveness are discussed with the service providers, and the factual accuracy of those observations is determined by both the providers and the auditors. In the reporting phase, of course, the results are reported to the participants of the audit, including the service providers. This contained the key conclusions and also a management response provided by the cloud service providers that help bridging the risk perceptions between the participating companies and the cloud service providers. CCAG's POOD audit process is finished with the lessons learned internally and together with the cloud service providers to help continuously improve the POOD audit approach. Now, you may ask, how about the follow-up on the observations, on the findings? This is not part of CCAG's POOD audit approach, mainly because all institutions need to assess the relevance of each observation by themselves and derive individual requirements addressed to the cloud service providers for it. However, and this is an experience practice, good practice, the cloud service provider usually provides an overall overview of the status of the remediation and the corrective actions. And of course, for efficiency reasons, this is also done commonly to all participating companies. Overall, this approach makes sure with all these elements in the process that each participating company owns the audit itself, like it did it itself. And this is very important for the companies because they do not want to become an outsourcing to the other companies participating in that audit. And with this, I would like to give you a little insight into the CCAG association and its reach and impact. CCAG is in the market since 2019 started as a loose collaboration of a few financial institutions and formally founded in 2023 with 11 founding members. Since its founding, 1.5 years ago, 45 further institutions joined CCAG, making today 56 members in the CCAG across 11 countries in the European Union. And CCAG is still growing. And if you want to become a member of CCAG, please just reach out to us and we will start a discussion. And if you are a representative of a cloud service provider, also please feel free to reach out and we will get in contact with you and we will hopefully get you onboarded on a pooled audit performed by your customer. I thank you very much and goodbye.